From the streets of Los Angeles to the pews at Sinai, we have had quite a year, and we have put this service together from different elements than ever before. But it will feel familiar because they are the same prayers, and it will feel inspiring because we're together. Each time I step inside this sanctuary, I remember what I felt the first time, that this is an Ohel Moed, a tent of greeting, a tent of assembly, not only for the people Israel, but especially for the congregation of Sinai. It is a different high holiday season, but we begin this service with the Torah service, with the Ein Kamocha, just as we have for thousands of years. If you have a Lev Shalem Machzor, a high holiday prayer book, Ein Kamocha, page 96.
Ein kamocha ba'Elohim Adonai ve'ein kema'asecha malchutcha malchut kol olamim u'memshaltecha Levad batachnu Aharon vayomer Moshe Kulma Adonai veyafutzu oyevecha veyanusu mesanecha mipanecha ki mitzion teitzei Torah ki mitzion teitzei Torah udevar Adonai mirushalayim Baruch shenatan Torah Torah Baruch shenatan Torah Torah le'amo Yisrael Kedushah.
Ribono Shel Olam, dear God, as we stand before your Torah for the first time in this new year, we remember its ancient messages, and in a world beleaguered and in pain, we acknowledge how deeply we need those messages. We need your wisdom and your guidance to help us understand how to navigate the difficult paths of the modern world. There is anger, there is division, there is difficulty, there is illness. But we look at your Torah and we remember that there is healing, there is hope, and there is love. God, please help us remember and embrace those lessons to create a world of goodness and a place of peace. Amen.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh v'nora Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh v'nora Shemo.
Hallelujah, Adonai iti, uneromema Shemo yachdav.
The Torah reading for the first day of Rosh Hashanah strikes me with a new relevance this year. As you may recall, it is about Abraham and Sarah having a child in their old age, Ben Zikunav, a child of their antiquity in a way. And I realize that the message of the Torah is not only the promise and the birth of Isaac, but the message of the Torah is that in antiquity you can still find renewal. And growing older is a beautiful thing if you can begin again. This is not only theoretical for us this year, because in a moment you are about to see the aliyot and you are about to see the Torah reading in a way you have never seen it, or at least I have never seen it. Many of our families will be participating, and it is a reflection of the fact that thousands of years later, we can still find a different and a new way to bring the Torah down from Sinai to the people Israel. The reading is on page 100 in your Mahzor, page 100.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam
Asher b'haranu mikol hamim
v'natan et Torato.
Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Va'adonai pakad et Sarah kasher amar. Vayas Adonai lesarah kasher diber. Vatahar vateled Sarah leAvraham ben lizkunav lamoed asher diber oto Elohim.
ויקרא אברהם את שם בנו הנולד לו, אשר ילדה לו שרה יצחק. וימל אברהם את יצחק בנו בן 8 ימים, כאשר ציווה אותו אלוהים.
ואברהם בן 100 שנה, והיללו את יצחק בנו, ותאמר שרה ישחק, עשה לי אלוהים, כל השומע יצחק לי.
ותאמר מי מילל לאברהם, הני כבנים שרה, כי ילדתי בן לזקוניו.
ויגדל הילד ויגמל, ויעש אברהם משתה גדול, ויום יגמל את יצחק. ותרא שרה את בן הגר המצרית, אשר ילדה לאברהם מצחק. ותאמר לאברהם גרש האמה הזאת ואת בנה, כי לא יירש בן האמה הזאת עם בני עם יצחק.
וירא הדבר מאוד בעיני אברהם על אודות בנו. ויאמר אלוהים אל אברהם, אל ירע בעיניך על הנער ועל אמותיך, כל אשר תאמר אליך שרה שמע בקולה, כי ויצחק יקרא לך זרע.
atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah temet, v'chayei olam natan b'tocheinu, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu haTorah.
Before the Torah, we offer prayers of healing and hope for recovery for those in our congregation and community and throughout Israel who are ill. Dear God, heal them and help us to heal them. Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Leimoteinu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imoteinu Mekor HaBracha Lavoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Amen. We pray for healing for our congregation, for our community. We are grateful that Jackie Achdut was able to join us for that prayer of healing. Her family and she are so dear to our congregation and our community. And now we prepare to put the Torah back in the ark.
Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki nizkor Shemo levado. Hodu al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren le'amo. Tehila lechol chasidav, livnei Yisrael am kerovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. It's now my honor to invite our dear student who has been singing with us for many years on the high holidays, Taylor Shabanian, who will help lead us in Eitz Chaim. Shalom, 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 v'chol netivoteha shalom. Behold, a good doctrine has been given. It is a tree of life to those who hold it fast, and all who cling to it find happiness. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all of its paths are peace.
We are so grateful that you are joining us, and also we are so privileged to have other services as we usually do at this time. The Barad service, which is being joined here in the main sanctuary, but also family minyan with Rabbi Sherman, and Torah in the round with Rabbi Guzik. Usually, of course, we have the opportunity to have people come and sit on the bima and enjoy the honor of the contributions they make in time, in resources, in devotion, and in love to the congregation. But as there is no one sitting on the bima today, we are going to be periodically showing you some of the names of members of our congregation that we trust you will recognize and that we all treasure as honors as part of this service.
When I prepare for Henani, I walk down the side of the pews and I get to go to the back. I get to shake people's hands along the way. I get to ask how they're doing. And then I stand there behind the congregation, bringing everyone's prayers forward to the ark all together. And it's going to be so different this year, not having anyone in the pews. But I know that everyone's going to be there in spirit.
Kanal Veit Kadosh Shemei Rabba Ve'alma Divrach Hirutei Oh שירתה תוש בחטא ונחמתה דמירת בעלמה ואימרו
Each of us has moments of private and silent prayer. But we still sometimes feel that our singular prayer is not sufficient, that we need the help of the community of others to bring our prayers to heaven. The Henani prayer is when the Shaliach Tzibur, the representative of the community, prays to be worthy to carry the burden of the prayers of Israel, Lifnei Kisei Kavod, before the throne of honor and judgment. The Henani prayer is when the Chazan must reckon with his or her own strengths and inadequacies, and pray that the prayers that he will offer will pierce through to God's listening ear and enable all Israel this year to be redeemed. Page 140, Henani.
Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Elohei Leah, Adonai, Adonai. וחנון, אלוהי ישראל. אדוני, אדוני, אל רחום וחנון, אלוהי ישראל. שלום. אשר אני הולך לעמוד ולבקש רחמים, ולבקש רחמים עלי ועל
I stand not flawless in your sight. Condemn not my people for my faults. Consider but their virtues, righteous judge. Forgive us our iniquities. Turn our afflictions into joy. You great exalted God who hears prayer, hear ours, and bless us all with life and peace.
כי אתה שומע תפילת עמך ישראל ברחמים. ברוך אתה
The Avot prayer that begins the Amidah is a remembrance and a recognition of our ancestors, and once more reminds us that this entire undertaking is ancient and modern alike, that we are trying to combine all the elements of a long tradition and add in some of the wizardry of the modern world in which we live. And so we are grateful that you join us in singing of Abraham and Sarah, of Isaac and Rebekah, of Jacob and Rachel and Leah, at the same time as you do so moderated through screens and cameras. But still, the heart of it, from those ancient tents to this modern wired sanctuary, the emotions, the joy and tears, the fear and hope, they remain the same. The cantor's repetition of the Amidah begins on page 141.
Baruch אבותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק, ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וגומל הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גואל לפני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מסוד חכמים ונבונים, ומלמד דעת מבינים, הבטחה פי בתפילה ותחנונים, לחלות ולחנן פני מלך מלכי המלכים ואדוני האדונים. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וכותבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר מושיע מגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, ברוך שמו, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, שורי חנופים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, אישי ועפר. מי כמוך הגבורות, לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, ברוך שמו, מחיי המתים.
At this point in the service, we come upon what might be called the signature prayer, the Unatana Tokef. And never in our lifetimes has the Unatana Tokef seemed more poignant and more relevant. Not only because it says, who by fire, and in California, we understand what that means. Not only because it says, who by plague, and all over the world, we understand what it means. But for those of you who may not know, last night we had an earthquake. It was one that did not upend buildings, but nonetheless, it woke many from their sleep. And it was God's way of saying, I really mean the Unatana Tokef, because it also says, who by earthquake. And it was almost as though we could not bring in this new year without a reminder of the fact that we are fragile and mortal, and that lies at the heart of the Unatana Tokef prayer and even of the holidays. The message is very clear, but one that we have to reiterate again and again in our minds and in our hearts. No one knows what tomorrow will bring. So live. No one knows the time you have. So cling to goodness and life and love. We begin the Unatana Tokef on page 143. You recall all that is forgotten and will open the book of remembrance, which speaks for itself, for our own hands have signed the page. Uvashofar Gadol.
Uvashofar Gadol Yitokar, 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 Yitokar. V'kol dama Mordechai Yishama, 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 Yishama. ותחתוך קצבה, ותחתוך קצבה, בכל מגדך, ותתלבט גזר, 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 את גזר עירם. גזר, 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 את גזר. Gezar, et gezar, et gezar, Iram.
Rosh Hashanah yikatevun uviyom tzom kippur yechatemun. On Rosh Hashanah the decree is written, and on Yom Kippur it is sealed. if there is such a thing as a signature prayer for a congregation, our signature prayer is the Kedushah followed by Ledor Vador from generation to generation. That has been the time when we gather our arms around each other at Sinai and we sway together. We follow the Kedushah on page 145, and after that, Ledor Vador.
Sod ziach sarfei kodesh, hamakdishim shimcha ba'kodesh, darei malahim darei mata, kakatuv al yad neviecha, v'kara zer ze ve'amar, kadosh, 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 Adonai tzvahot, Melech kol haaretz kevodo, kevodo malei olam, mesharetav shoalim ze lazeh, hayem ekom kevodo, liumatam baruch yomei yaru, baruch kevod Adonai, Mimekomo, even merachamim, ve'achonam, hamyachadim shemo, erev avolker bechol yom tamid, pamayim yahava, shema omrim, shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Hu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu, Vehu Yashmienu, Merachamav Sheni, Shenit, Einei Kol Chai, Liot Lachem El Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adir Adireinu, Adonai Adoneinu, Madir Shimcha bechol haaretz, ve'yarunai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom ahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, uv'divrei kodshecha katuv leimor, yimeloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai Zion, Ledor Vador, Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah.
Ledor Vador, from generation to generation.
Ledor Vador, Ledor Vador.
Jimmy and Lonnie Delshad were celebrating their son's bar mitzvah, and he asked me if I would write something special. I sat at the piano, looked through the prayer book, and the melody just came. It was quite amazing.
Ledor Vador is the gold standard of what he's done. You go to synagogues throughout the world, you'll hear the same Ledor Vador.
Lador Vador is the responsibility of passing on the spiritual knowledge and cultural traditions from generation to generation.
Lador Vador to me and my family is 2,700 years of Jewish roots in Iran.
I think it's the most powerful symbolic beauty in Judaism.
The passing down of family history, stories, cultures, recipes, and most importantly, values.
It's a message of resilience.
Every time you say the word Lador Vador, you're talking about continuity. And continuity is the core of the religion itself.
It's a duty for every Jew to be able to share this unbelievable religion, this way of life.
Teaching us to remember where we came from, it really defines who we are.
It is very important to keep the tradition alive and connect our ancestors to us.
I love seeing the people from year to year. Little kids, how they've grown, older people, how they're aging. And you're standing there singing the song, and you're looking at the ark that contains the Torahs that we're literally passing down.
When I introduced Lador Vador, 1,000 people put their arms around each other, and they started swaying. Almost 20 years later, they're still doing it.
We put our arms around one another and know that we are in all of this together.
Regardless of whether they're family or not, and it takes families and makes it one community.
To have the ability to share love, happiness, and also pain and struggle, and all of these emotions in one room.
It gives you a sense of being, of living, of connection with friends that you've known for 50 years.
When the lights come down and Rabbi Wolpe comes to the other side, lights the candle, and we all sing, you lose context of time, because that's the same feeling I've had going back almost 40 years.
When you walk into our synagogue, it's like being at home.
We must make certain that the months, Rabbi Wolpe, you have spent speaking, writing, researching to make possible the continuation of Lador Vador.
We are so grateful for all of those who have contributed to make this service possible, and you saw them on that tape. The Nazarian family, Eunice and Soraya Nazarian's family, Puran and Parviz of blessed memory, Ruth Pilot and Sid Pilot of blessed memory, and Abner and Roz Goldstein, and all of their families, and all of you who sway Lador Vador from generation to generation. One of the privileges of being the rabbi for long enough, if you manage to be a rabbi for enough years, you discover that children whose birth you attend and bar mitzvahs you preside over become adults who do some remarkable things. I have been blessed to be the rabbi of this congregation for almost a quarter of a century, and to do high holidays for about a decade before that. And so I have been at the life events of all of the three young men you are about to hear, who are presenting this Hodu for the first time that anyone has heard it. It is the world premiere of the Platt brothers, Jonah, Ben, and Henry, singing Hodu and illustrating so beautifully once again, since I went to college with their parents, Lador Vador, from generation to generation.
Yom
And now I ask you to stand at home and to put your arms around the people near you, or just to sway and listen as we sing Ledor Vador.
Ledor Vador, Ledor Vador, Ledor Vador, Nagid Vanelecha, Ulenetzach Netzachim, Ulenetzach Netzachim, Kedushah Hanaktish, Ledor Vador, Ledor Vador, Ledor Vador, Nagid Vanelecha, Ulenetzach Netzachim, Ulenetzach Netzachim, Kedushah Hanaktish, L'shivcha Eloheinu, Mipinu lo yamush le'olam va'ed, Ki el melech gadol, melech gadol, v'kadosh ata. Ledor Vador, Ledor Vador, Ledor Vador, Nagid Vanelecha, Ulenetzach Netzachim, Ulenetzach Netzachim, Kedushah Hanaktish. Baruch atah Adonai, HaMelech, HaMelech, HaKadosh.
Some more of the congregants who, deprived of the opportunity of sitting up here on the bima this year, we wish to honor. Amidah is composed of three sections: Malchuyot, Zichronot, and Shofrot. Those of you that took the high holiday class with us know this, and we begin with the Alenu, Malchuyot, in which usually the rabbi and cantor Folkorim before the ark, but we are going to social distance, and I will Folkorim before the ark, and maybe next time we'll have the cantor do it. Page 154.
Alenu leshameach l'Adon hakol latet Kedushah yelotzer bereshit shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot velo samanu kemishpechot hadama shelo sam chelkeinu kahem וגורלנו ככל המונם ואנחנו הוראים ומשתחווים ומודים. לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא
שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ ומשב יקרו בשמיים ממעל שכינת עוזו בגבהי מרומים הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. We continue now with Hayom Harat Olam on page 158.
Im Kevanim, im Ka
our Reshet Sifatenu on page 158, together with our Cantor Emeritus, Joseph Gold.
Tzefatenu yerov lefanecha amen isa mevinu mazin mabitul makshiv mevinu mazin mabitul makshiv lekol tekiyatenu utekabel berachamim uratzon utekabel berachamim uratzon Seder, Shofrotenu. Ay, yabba bum bum bum. Ay, yabba bum bum, yabba bum bum bum. Ay, yabba bum 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 bum, yabba bum 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 bum. Ay, die. Mevinu mazin, mabitul makshiv, mevinu mazin, mabitul makshiv, lekol, tekiyatenu, utekabel berachamim uratzon, utekabel berachamim uratzon, Seder,
We are blessed with not only many beautiful cantorial voices, but with wonderful cantorial friends of Cantor Feldman's and mine, who have agreed to join us to take part of the service so that you can hear some of the beautiful voices around the world. You heard Cantor Gold, and for now, Haben Yakirli Ephraim, it is my pleasure to virtually welcome our friend from Montreal, from Shari Shamayim, Cantor Gideon Zellermeyer.
brivo, ki midei da brivo, zachor et kerenu od. Al kein hamu me'aylo rachem arachamenu. Al kein hamu me'aylo rachem arachamenu. Neum Adonai.
Hallelujah, with our cantorial intern David Childs and Cantor Feldman.
Hallelujah, 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 El Bekodsho, Hallelujah, Birkia Uzo, Hallelujah, Vigoroda, Hallelujah, Kerov Gurlo, Hallelujah, Beteka Shofar, Hallelujah, Venever Vechino. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, betofu macho. Hallelujah, beminim ve'ugav. Hallelujah, betzilzele shama. Hallelujah, betzilzele truah. Kol hanshama tehalleluya. Kol haneshama tehalleluya.
I know that you have heard some wonderful cantors in the past several minutes, and there is one cantor you have heard from in words but not yet in song, and you're wondering, well, we heard from Cantor Gold, who is a cantor at Sinai, and from our cantorial intern David Childs, and of course from our own Cantor Feldman. Where is Cantor Finkelstein? Isn't he going to sing for us as well? The answer, of course, is yes. Here is Cantor Feldman, along with Cantor Finkelstein, leading us in Vial Kulam.
Vial Kulam.
How grateful and fortunate we are to have had so many wonderful talents here at Sinai Temple. And so many wonderful, talented people have grown up here as well. And among the extraordinarily gifted is Shannon Delajani, who is going to lead us, along with Cantor Feldman, in Sim Shalom.
Sim Shalom, Sim Shalom, Sim Shalom, Tova uveracha, Chen v'chesed v'rachamim, Alenu ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, Sim Shalom, Sim Shalom. Shalom, Tova uveracha, Chen v'chesed v'rachamim, Alenu ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, Malcheinu Avinu, kulanu kechad.
שלום טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך, וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל. בכל עת ובכל שעה נשלומך. שים שלום, שים שלום, שים שלום, שים שלום, שים שלום טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך. שים שלום, שים שלום, שים שלום, שים שלום, שים שלום טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים, עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך. ברוך אתה אדוני, המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום. שים שלום, שים שלום, שים
Shalem, page 171.
יתקדש ויתקדש שמי רבה, והלמתי ברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחיי חון וביום מחון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמיה יתברך, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל. שמי דקודשא בריחו לעילא לעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא, תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא. ואמרו אמן. תתקבץ צלותון ובאותון לכל בית ישראל, חודם מבוהון דיבישמיא, דיבישמיא, דיבישמיא. ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום רבה משמיא בחיים בחיים, עלינו עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל ישראל. ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום, עלינו עלינו ועל כל ישראל. ויהי
At Sinai Temple each year, the mayor, whoever the mayor is in that term, in that year, visits us to offer us a message. Obviously, that cannot happen in person this year, but we have a virtual message from our mayor.
Right now, Jewish communities around our city and across the globe are marking a Rosh Hashanah we won't soon forget. This Rosh Hashanah feels different. 5781 is kicking off in a way none of us wanted nor expected. We're not coming together in our synagogues or gathering for festive meals or leaning over friends and cousins to get our hands on the last slice of honey cake. We're without the normal sounds, away from the people who make this time of year so special. Instead, many of us are praying through a screen, reflecting from a distance, and celebrating in very unfamiliar ways. Yet at the same time, there has never been a more appropriate moment to usher in the high holidays. We call this time Yamim Noraim, or the days of awe, a season when we're called to take part in that sacred exercise passed down from generation to generation, to take stock of where we've been and where we are and where we are going. Well, we know where we've been. This year has been dark and confusing, full of upheaval and pain and vulnerability and sorrow, testing us in ways that we could never have foreseen. And we know where we are now, in a moment of great uncertainty, shaken and fragile, standing before the Almighty and asking to be sealed in the book of life. But while God will write our fate, let's remember that we have the power to write our own story. So this Rosh Hashanah, let's look forward and resolve to make this year filled with blessings and gratitude and joy. A year of family and friends and love and light. A year we reach out to those who have wandered off the path and lift up those who have fallen down. Let's make it a year of health and healing, of promise and purpose for our community, for our city, and for our world. And next Rosh Hashanah, let's hope and pray and work and plan so that we will be together once again, singing and dancing, rejoicing, dipping apples in honey, and hearing the sound of the shofar. I can't wait to be there with you. So from my family to yours, Shana Tova Umateka. Have a great, happy, and sweet New Year.
My brother Eyal Sherman of blessed memory was 36 years old when he passed away the day after Rosh Hashanah. I was in this community as we said the prayer, Unatana Tokef, who shall live and who shall die. And the week that I returned back from the East Coast during my year of mourning, I was embraced, physically by you, but also spiritually by this community, saying the words of the Mourner's Kaddish each and every morning in our chapel and every Shabbat in our sanctuary, knowing that I was not alone and that I will never be alone in memory.
Shana Tova. I want to begin with 3 men who are walking in the desert: a Frenchman, a German, and a Jew. And the Frenchman says, "I'm thirsty, I must have wine." And the German says, "I am thirsty, I must have beer." And the Jew says, "I'm thirsty, I must have diabetes." That idea that we can put a negative spin on things is not entirely unknown to any of you. The Jewish philosopher Sidney Morgenbesser once put it very well and very cleverly. In philosophy, there is an idea that goes back to Immanuel Kant that says ought implies can. In other words, if I say you ought to do something, that implies that you can do it. Morgenbesser said ought implies can, and in Judaism, can implies don't. And that notion that there are prohibitions and negatives in Judaism, that's full in the high holidays. We talk of awe and judgment, but the truth is, this is supposed to be a birthday. It's Hayom Harat Olam, today the world was born. So why is it that it seems so forbidding and so foreboding? Well, it's also called Yom Hadin, that's true, the day of judgment, and Yom Teruah, the day of blasts, the day of the blowing of the shofar. And that recalls not only Abraham, but also standing around Sinai, the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments that are illustrated above our ark. And I want to point something out about the commandments, not just how many of them are prohibitions, but also that they're addressed to you, not to a collective you, to an individual you. The commandments speak to each of us individually. And that's because we are supposed to take this time of year and the tradition in general as an admonition to ourselves. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, the great Mussar rabbi, the great rabbi of morals and ethics, said it is easy to declare that God is king over the universe, but it is very difficult to declare that God is king over oneself. And in this year of all sorts of difficulties, of pandemic and climate and fires and political division and social unrest and invasions in your privacy and growths to anti-Semitism and terror threats and last night even an earthquake. In such a year, we have to ask, what does it mean to declare God a king over oneself? What is the demand that the world makes of us? What demand do we make of ourselves? Because even though we are a tradition filled with rules, we are also, as you know, a stiff-necked people. The Bible says that explicitly. Full of contradictions. And self-mastery is no easy task. So there's a battle. Napoleon said that every battle is decided within the span of 15 minutes. But I want to give you an analysis of battle deeper than Napoleon's from a rabbi. From a rabbi who was a mashgiach ruchani, a spiritual advisor in a famous yeshiva, Rav Dressler. And he, in the first half of the 20th century, wrote about a battle in a different sense. He said, everyone has inside themselves a nikudat bechira, a point of decision. But that point of decision differs inside yourself. Let me explain. If you put a salad in front of me and you say, do you want this kind of dressing or that kind of dressing, I have a decision to make. But if you put a salad in front of me and next to it you put a ham sandwich, and you say, do you want the salad or the ham sandwich? There's no decision. I don't have to go through any agonizing, any thought. It's clear. There is no nikudat habechira, there is no point of decision, because I have made a previous decision that conditions who I am. Because I keep kosher, And because I'm a vegetarian on top of that, I don't even think about the possibility of eating the ham sandwich. So says Rav Dressler, all of us have already conquered territory in a moral sense inside of us. In other words, there are places in you where there is no decision because you have already made a decision. You know who you are. And so when someone approaches you with a decision or with an argument or with a point of view, you say, look, I understand, but I am already here. This is my commitment. I have a previous Nikudat HaBechira, so I'm not at the battlefront here. I'm in conquered territory. What I know and what you know, especially this year, especially with an election coming up, is that for most of us, our political commitments are conquered territory. There are very few people whom I meet who say, you know, I'm really wondering who I should vote for. Please give me your arguments. For most of us, that is conquered territory. There is no battlefront. For some, yes, but for most, no. But I want to tell you where there is a battlefront. There's a battlefront in Ahavat Yisrael. Ahavat Yisrael doesn't mean love of the land of Israel. In traditional Jewish teaching, it means love of the Jewish people and love of Jews. It is easy to declare love of the Jewish people as it is easy to declare God King of the universe. It is difficult to say, I love Jews who differ from me. My goal is to try, both within myself and within others, to move Ahavat Yisrael from the battlefront to conquered territory. I want Jews to love Jews who disagree with them about that already conquered territory. Jews of the left to love Jews of the right, Jews of the right to love Jews of the left, and to love Jews in the middle. Yisrael, afal pi shachata, Yisrael who, say the rabbis, a Jew, even though he may sin, is still a part of Israel. For too many of us, our politics overrides our Ahavat Yisrael. And I want to change the way we think about this, that your natural alliance isn't somebody who inhabits your conquered territory. Your natural alliance is somebody who inhabits what should be your conquered territory. That is, Kol Yisrael Arevim Zevazeh. All of Israel is responsible for one another. And you may get frustrated and you may get angry. But I'm not asking you to love the whole world. I'm not asking you to care for every human being, even though that is good and that is laudable and we should aim for that. I am asking you to love 0.2% of the population of the world. I'm asking you to make a commitment that you will genuinely care for and love the Jewish people, especially when they disagree with you, especially when they're not on your side. To recognize that they are a part of you, that we cannot excommunicate each other and cast each other off and speak in cruel and negative ways. That love should override it, overspill boundaries. That should be our fundamental commitment to ourselves and to each other. Kipling once wrote about a little area, Sussex by the sea. He said, God gave all men, all earth to love, but because our hearts are small, ordained for each, one spot would prove beloved over all. It's true, sometimes our hearts are not big enough to embrace the entire world, but can we embrace each other? Reformed, conservative, Orthodox, Reconstructionist, none, all, can we embrace each other? Left, right, pro, anti, can we embrace each other? Can we speak about each other with decency and with respect? Can love of Jews be our conquered territory? I have told you the story before. I don't remember, I wish I did, the rabbi who said this to me, but when I was in rabbinical school, I remember I went out once to speak as a student, and a rabbi pulled me aside. He was an older man. And he said, I want to tell you, if you're going to survive as a rabbi, you only need one thing. I said, what's that? He said, you have to love Jews. I do. I love lots of things in this world, but I love Jews and I love Jewish people. I think they're extraordinary people. Even when they infuriate me and contradict me, even when people from the right and people from the left both get angry at me, and believe me, they both do, I love Jews. And I think you should love Jews too, especially when they infuriate you, especially when they disagree with you. You know the poem by Edwin Markin, he drew a circle that shut me out, heretic, rebel, a thing to flout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle that took him in. I know it's going to be an election soon. I refuse to let arguments, which will not last forever, impair my love of the Jewish people, which should last forever. Love and God have the wit to win. So I ask all of you, let's all of us draw a circle and bring us all in. Shana Tova.
Shalom bimroma, Buya Aseh, Shalom Aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimroma, Buya Aseh, Shalom Aleinu. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom. Shalom bimroma, Buya Aseh, Shalom Aleinu. Shalom bimroma, Buya Aseh, Shalom Aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimroma, Buya Aseh, Shalom Aleinu. Yaseh Shalom.
Please rise for the Alenu. Page 173, please rise for Alenu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Ribbono Shel Olam, dear God, in love we remember those who no longer walk this earth. We are grateful to you for the gift of their lives, for the joys we've shared, and for the cherished memories that do not fade. Once again this morning we mark the passing of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg and offer comfort to her family, to her friends, and to the many who mourn her. We recall also the passing of those who gave their lives in service of our nation this past week, Air Force Senior Airman Jason Fan and Air Force Staff Sergeant Ronald Ouellette. And this week we recall the yortzites of Esther Altabet, Ben Basler, Yaakov Ben Shoshan, Fanny Bleifeld, May Bloomberg, Chanum Agabral, Judith Cantor, Alice Chinland, Robert Cohn, Sarah Jangoli, Benjamin Dwoskin, Victoria Shagian, Aaron Faisbler, Alan Fine, Hetty Flesh, Rose Fox, Laura Friedman, Reuben Friedman, Solomon Genser, Ann Giss, Hyman Goldenberg, George Goodman, Ida Grant, Mary Etta Green, Abraham Greenberg, Nachman Grunberg, Jean Guzik, Sylvia Hoffman, Nasreen Imani, Jacob Israel, Jacqueline Jackson, Emily Jacobson, Philip Jager, Ari Jaffe, Marjorie Kogan, Sammy Cohen, Jamshid Cohen Zakai, Esther Croman, Joan Lee, Eleanor Liggett, Benjamin Lind, Ruth Lipsky, Alice Lotwin, David Maley, Victoria Margzar, Human Matin, Jacqueline Mayeri, Nahid Mulamzadeh, Faramaz Navi, Esther Neilman, Atola Nicha, Sidney Nitzberg, Shadi Nurani, Azizola Peniasian, Farid Pezeshki, Ruth Melton, Yusuf Rabinchena, Samuel Risman, Gabriel Robbins, Hyman Rosen, Betty Rosenberg, George Rudis, Meyer Sheps, Zoltan Schoenfeld, Atola Sadikpour, Martin Shapiro, Edna Schechter, Ayal Sherman, Lena Siegel, Leonard Sikoff, Adam Sikowski, Mary Sloan, Abe Stein, Frida Stern, Leo Strauss, George Tobman, Marlene Venturino, Bashel Vidas, Hadassah Wagman, Willie Wagman, Shifra Walensky, Yetta Weinberg, Mayor Weiner, Rebecca Weiner, Julian White, Godrat Yagubian, Ira Yellen, and Martin Zarlin. May the faith that binds us to our loved ones be a continuing source of comfort as we ask those in mourning and those observing a yortzeit to please rise to sanctify God's name in the words of the mourner's Kaddish on page 174. Yit Gadal ve'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah Bi'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uvyomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv imru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevarach leolam ulomei omaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit romam v'yit naseh v'yit adar v'yit aleh v'yit alal shemei de Kedushah brichu le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim alenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom. Alenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May God grant comfort and healing to the hearts of all who mourn. And let us all say, amen. Before I turn this over for a short message from our president, I want to make one or two announcements and thank yous. First of all, you know that the great sin of television is supposed to be dead air. We inadvertently didn't give you dead air today when we should have, and I am sorry about that. Some of you may have missed the silent Amidah. Don't get me started about why it got missed, but all I can say is, as a gift, I give you the rest of today to recite the silent Amidah, since we missed it this morning, and it will be here again tomorrow where we will have the silent Amidah, because what you had was a repetition of the Amidah, and it doesn't make sense to repeat something if you haven't said it the first time. So I hope, nonetheless, that you enjoyed the service and got a feeling of kavanah, of inspiration and uplift. Tomorrow we will be here again at the same time. Tomorrow I have a dialogue with Rabbi Brad Artson from the American Jewish University that I hope you will enjoy, who is the rabbi in Barad when those services take place in a normal year. Also, I want to remind you that we will be here on Kol Nidre, on Yom Kippur Day, and for Ne'ilah, and we hope that you will join us for all of those services online, as well as Shabbat morning. We are here every Shabbat morning, and also every minyan. You can join us. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to thank the clergy. Today, I would like to thank 4 people without whom none of this would be possible. Rebecca Small, our program and membership director, who did so much to help all of us maintain our membership and be part of this. Judy Bagan, who is an administrator par excellence and helps the synagogue stay on its feet day after day and year after year for many years. And, of course, my assistant, Rebecca Bagan Davenport, who I call the indispensable Rebecca, who is always a joy and great to work with, and I know all of you find her both helpful and wonderful in every way. And then I want to thank my friend Howard Lesner. This is unbelievably Howard's last year, and we have been together for well over 2 decades here at Sinai Temple. Howard does everything, maintains the building, the synagogue, the people, my spirits. I am enormously grateful to have had Howard for all these years as a partner in everything that we have done together. And I know that all of you, especially because we were going to have a dinner, as you know, for Howard this year, and I hope we will still be able to do something in time, but I know that all of you want to express what I expressed to Howard, which is thank you so much for doing what you do and being who you are. And now, our president, Jamie Berman.
Thank you, Rabbi Wolpe. Shabbat Shalom and Shana Tova. I am pleased and honored to welcome you to Sinai Temple High Holy Day services. While we are not gathered here in our sanctuary and we are foregoing our in-person services and traditions, we hope we have provided you with a unique, joyful, and meaningful way to celebrate the new year of 5781. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to our clergy, Rabbi Wolpe, Rabbi Guzik, Rabbi Sherman, Rabbi Rotenberg, Cantor Feldman, and cantorial interns David Childs and Ellen Sugarman, who have nourished our souls and our hearts during these holy days. An additional thank you to Ariel Cohen and the choir for their hard work over the summer to create these uplifting services. Much of the work done to bring Sinai Temple to your screen at home involved the work of our staff and lay leadership. They have devoted so much of their time and resources to our community. Leon Biederman had the impossible task of managing all the technology. Yasher Koach. Please take a moment to thank them when you can. A special thanks also goes to GracieVision production team, who guided us and worked closely with our community to creatively and meaningfully reimagine our High Holy Day services. We could not have presented these services without them. On behalf of myself and the Board of Directors of Sinai Temple, I welcome you to become more engaged in our Kehillah, our community, be it virtually or in person. Our community has been deeply affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, and Sinai Temple wants to reach out to you and connect with you. Take our online classes, attend our virtual events, and join us for services. In this time of danger, let us join together to create a new and special sense of Kedushah, holiness, throughout these holy days. As the year comes to a close, I hope the path forward to the next year of 5781 is illuminated with healing, rebuilding, and renewal. Our community will collectively be strengthened as we enter the year 5781, B'yachad, together. My husband Joel and I and our daughters Alex and Ari wish you a new year filled with health, happiness, peace, joy, and prosperity for you and your family. Lashana Tova Mituka.
We conclude with B'Shana Haba'ah, the year to come.
בשנה הבאה נשב על המרפסת ונספור ציפורים נודדות. ילדים בחופשה ישחקו תופסת בין הבית ובין השדות. עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה. עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה. Soon the day will arrive when we will be together, and no longer will people live in fear. And the children will play without their wondering whether on that day dark new clouds will appear. עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה. עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה.
We wish you all a ketiva v'chatima tova, a year of sweetness, of goodness, of health, and of peace. Shana Tova.